Back again working on the car, and for once on the, well, I'm not the only one making noise. Got some next door with a chainsaw. It's a good job I walked away from this when I did, because I've just made a discovery. I was never really happy with what was going on down here because of all of this smashing about somebody else has done. And that's really screwed me over actually, because I was offering up my repair panel again, just double checking how this was going to finish down here. And it wasn't looking quite right. So I've done some more measuring and I've made a discovery. That line should have been 130 from there to the lip of the wheel arch, which would put it another 10mm lower. That's starting to make sense because I need more of a gap here. And all of that, actually, when you look at the line of the sill, needs to be lower. So I very nearly screwed up big time. And this is annoying because I've got a tack there, a tack there, tack there, tack there. And then I think I also put some fairly meaty, yeah, I did, meaty ones in down here and on the inside. So it's my own fault, but basically this is going to have to be undone. And this whole section dropped, which will bring that down, which bring the wheel arch lip down. It shouldn't affect these too much. That's going to be 140 and that's going to be 130. Yeah, basically I have screwed up quite a lot. I'm glad I walked away last time and I was tired, because I think pretty much all of that needs to come off again. Balls. Well, that was seriously annoying. My camera, I don't know whether it's because I dropped it or what, but it stopped working and I hadn't realised. So I think in the last video that I actually saved, I'd realised that I'd got that in the wrong place. So I'd unpicked it, I'd adjusted it. This was the major fuck up area, excuse my language. That had ended up being about 120, whereas it should have been 130. And that's what it is about now. That one, 140, it's just shy of that, and that's what I want, because that measurement was to the actual old wheel arch lip, and obviously not like a profile along that line and round, but just a straight line between that point and the point of the wheel arch. So they're all about right now when you consider that there's going to be another panel on top. So I'm really happy with that. What was less good is that it's going to end up a bit gappy. That one's not so bad because that can just be a butt weld rather than a lap weld. The only problem area is here, and I was just saying that I was going to have to dress that down and move that in, and then possibly have to refit the door when it came to working out where that bit goes. Basically I was doing a hell of a lot of chatting without doing much welding, but anyway, started welding down here and was showing you some beautiful welds, doing them one-handed and stuff, and I lost all that recording, but never mind. The plan now is just to weld it in. So I'm going to put the camera down, sharp, and get on with it. Mildly interesting point. I've pushed that down with the pliers so that that slides behind there, and then I've tacked it, and that means that this whole gap has closed up a little bit more. I've tried hitting this with a hammer to reshape it, but it's so damaged that it doesn't stretch or move like normal metal. It's completely bollocksed. So although it's not rusty, it's very compromised, so there's no way I'd be able to reshape that anywhere decent. So just gonna have to fill it in with weld, I think. The rest of it's looking really good. I'm happy that I can butt weld all of that, so I'm just gonna carry on. I've done down to here, that's all looking nice. And the great thing is, when you feel the backside, it's perfect. You're not gonna have much rubbing down to do, and there's not going to be really a lot for rust to start on once I've treated it all. So it should make for a really good repair. a lot more thorough than I was originally anticipating, but that's just the way with rusty old cars, really. With a bit of hammering, I have managed to close that area up. But this metal, this side, is so... I don't know how to describe it. It doesn't weld like normal metal. I think it's just so knackered. I'm having to have the welder turned down to its like lowest settings, 1 min, and then go very, very easy. And I'm going to have to join in all the cut slots first, and then fill in the rest. So it's going to be quite a long, laborious weld, this bit. I'm going to try and mount the camera somewhere sensible, like on top of the wing mirror. Is that going to stay there? So what I'm trying to do is just build tiny little bridges of weld across and then fill it in afterwards. It's not like the best way of doing it, and you wouldn't do it on an external panel, but for this it will be fine. This would be one of those moments where copper would probably work quite nicely, but I still don't have any, so I won't be doing that. As soon as I get a bit where I think I can put a lot of heat in, I do, just to try and burn off any impurities and have it nice and solid. So I've got a lot of heat in there now, getting in there really. One little bit to go. Done. So that was probably the most awkward bit. hopefully you can see, and you could see how much heat I was putting in towards the end, because although that looks like a mess, it's all solid, there's no pinholes. Let's clean this side off, and then I'll try and show you the back. So that's good, none of the dreaded aero bar, it's all decent welded metal. Then the back side, and bearing in mind I haven't seen this too, but it's always good to check. What do we have? So that's what it looks like from the back. I can see one pinhole there, but really that's pretty damn good. A couple of hedgehoggy bits. But really, that just wants, you know, oh, is that another pinhole? Yeah, another pinhole down there. Hopefully you can see that. But I'm really happy with that. It's going to look good, and I think it's basically going to make for a really nice repair all the way around now. I was a bit worried at one point that this was going to look utterly shite, but I think it's going to be quite good. Yeah, I'm just going to do lots of welding now. Right, we are, well, I have welded from there all the way round down to about, where is it, there. The reason I stopped is because I got bored, and also I'm going to cut a bit more of that off, so I've got access to weld it nicely. I've done all in there, and after I ground it down, it doesn't look as bad as I thought it might do. So that's okay. I've sanded off the outside just to neaten it up a little bit and see how it looks. I still need to weld in and around here and do that bit obviously, but that's most of that wheel arch done. Certainly the inner wheel well bit of it anyway. And then that's the bit that will go on there. I still need to, actually that is fitting so much better than it was. That's really good. I can feel with my hand that it's tight on the return. That bit will need a bit of jimmy nudgery, but we'll work that out. I think I said earlier that I want the door back on before I finish that area, because this can move in and out. I think it's meant to be like that, but we'll have to work it out. But I'm going to go in for some lunch now because I'm pretty knackered already, and it's only about 1 o'clock. But it turns out I worked faster than I thought, and it wasn't lunchtime yet, so I'm going to now trim off that bit down there and finish the welding at the rear end, and hopefully this time not rush it and make a really nice job of that bit. That's my aim. Can't remember whether I ever made it a point in one of the videos, but that was a plug weld hole rather than a burn through hole, and it allowed me to pick up on the return of the continuation of that panel going down there. There's nothing on the back side here, but I have at least tacked on to that seam. We have got wheel arch basically in a wheel well finished all the way around. I put some additional welds in just along here and on the back side just to neaten that up a bit. That's all done. And in here, that's all done. So we've got one fully rebuilt wheel arch well all the way around. All I need to do is grind that bit down, and then I can begin making my final adjustments to this whole area, and then I can put the wing on. I want that door back on really, because that gap is crucial. I don't need to repair this to do that. I don't have any other good doors here, and that one's already sat there, so after lunch I'll shove that back on the car, and then I can play around with the rest of it. But very happy with that. This whole side of the car, when you think about it, is now very solid indeed. Still waiting for my B-pillar bottom section, excuse me, but other than that, I've got plenty of work still to do. But yeah, it's going well. Here we are back at the car. All I've done since I went in for my lunch really is sanded it down. I've gone over it with the wire wheel as well, and then in there as well. I'm not going crazy on the back side of this. I have cleaned it up a little bit, but I'm not going crazy because I'll have to do it all again when the car's actually got the wing welded onto it. So don't know whether you can see that. I haven't done really any cleanup whatsoever. That'll all be done when I've welded the wheel arch lip on, and then that plug welding will disturb the backside of all of this, so I'll address it all at the same time. I will do these bits at the moment just because I might as well. I've removed the striker plate from there just because I haven't fixed the door latch yet, and I don't want it to slam shut and then have to climb around and get in. I'm leaving the door seal on the top but not on the bottom, so I can push it in and out and get that gap nice, I hope. This is obviously not how you would ordinarily gap up a Rover SD1 door, but that's not what I'm trying to do. All I'm trying to do at the moment is get the height of that swage line or detail line in the rear wing with the top of that door consistent with this door and at the waist, or you know, that bit, because I want to ensure that when I weld the wheel arch lip on, I get that gap right all the way down to here. So obviously this bit I've hammered around. I can see already it wants to go back and in, but I need to prep the wheel arch itself and get the sort of gap there and the step height and everything correct. The sill, that edge of the sill, I've not changed. Ignore where the door is. This can move in and out, can do whatever, and quite frankly that's so shockingly rotten that there's no way I would be using that as a reference line anyway, so ignore that. What I just want is to make sure that that curve and all of this fits together nicely. So I'm gonna go do something else for a bit, wait for that to go off, and then I can start playing around with the wheel arch lip itself. While I'm waiting for paint to dry, I'm gonna trim off the excess material that I don't need, because I still want to join my panel before that return. So I've just marked off roughly, gonna nip around. This is a rough cut, I'll trim it up more neatly when I've got it on the car. Let's go and have a trial fit up. Incidentally, I don't know whether you saw how I was holding the top of the door. I just put a pair of grips in and then adjusted it till I got that line nice. It just saves fanning about, doing up all the nuts and bolts. The one downside is it means I can't open and shut the door, but I don't really care at this stage. This will be a two-hand job, methinks. Once again, Captain Fuck Up returns. I forgot that I trimmed that panel longer, so my measurement of how much meat I thought I needed here, I got wrong. So that's quite annoying. I might actually chop all of that off and chop this here, because the whole wheel arch, I think it's one of those over panels. So this here is a pattern part, obviously. Not an original wheel arch lip, and I think it's designed to sit on top of what was already on the car rather than to be a repeat or, you know, a replacement panel that you would cut off completely. The reason I think that is because the distance between here and here is about 58mm, whereas on the other side of the car, which hasn't yet been molested, it's only about 55. So I think this is a bandage panel to go on the top. That's not a problem because I can adjust it to fit, but it just means a little bit more jiggery pokery. I think I'll end up either having to sit the rear as it is now at the right height, so that that line comes through to there, and then just chop the bottom off here. In fact, that's probably the easiest way of doing this. But other than that, it's all looking like it can go together. Just a case of fettling it, really, trimming bits and pieces, hammering that in and out, and then I'll be tacking it in a few places before finally gobbing it on. I've jumped the gun a bit, the paint still hasn't gone off, and I want it all nicely protected, so where I've knocked the paint just now, go and get the brush and touch that in, and then I'm going to leave it for a couple of hours while I go and, I don't know, play computer games or something. Yeah, World of Tanks beckons, I think. Okay, that's kind of all gone off and dried. I've trimmed that panel the first cut, but really I need to fix everything in this area before that can go back on top, which means finalising the position of that. It's probably got to be back in there somewhere. Yeah, this could be quite complicated because I need the door in the right position so I can set where that goes, but I need the door out of the way so that I can finish that panel and join it to the sill, but all the time being conscious of the spacing between the front of that and the rear of here. So it's a bit of a jigsaw puzzle, same as usual really, so I'll do a bit of head scratching, I think. The good thing is that the structure behind, I can get it roughly right, and then when I put the wheel arch lip on, I can hammer this forwards and backwards until I get it in the right place. So in some ways I don't have to be as neat about this as I otherwise would have been. Sorry. Oh. And I wonder why I get through cameras quite quickly. Basically, the easiest way of fixing this whole area is to go away, repair this piece first, and then use this as a section to repair the car. So I'm going to go into the workshopy bit now, trim that down, make a new lower lip for it, and then come back to the car afterwards. I probably won't bother recording this because all I'm going to be doing is chopping a piece of flat steel, welding it in there, welding both sides, sanding it smooth, making it look pretty, and then coming back again. I wasn't going to bother recording any of this, but it's all part of the story and the process, so yeah, might as well. What I want to do is draw a scribe line along there first, measure how much steel I need to add, cut that off, and then weld a new piece of steel on and trim it back so that I end up with the right length. I'm going to do that as one long straight section into here and then sand it round. That'll give me an insight into how good or bad the metal is here, and whether I need to add a piece or whether I just need to rub it down and weld it. So onward. Forgot to turn the camera on again, but that's my donor piece. I might have screwed up again and cut it a little bit short because I forgot I sanded off the end there, but we shall see. I'm just going to go find something convenient to clamp it together with, and then I can tack it and eyeball it against the car. I wouldn't ordinarily tack stuff together on my welder, but I'm feeling especially lazy today. Jiffy later, that's sanded off. I haven't gone crazy on the back side because I don't want to lose the strength, and on the front I've tried not to go all the way through the welds. You can still see that, but it'll just need a tiny bit of filler. There's a couple of pinholes I need to fill in, and I'm going to put a couple of bit more blobs on there just for good measure. We are now at the far side of the car, which I haven't visited for quite a while. It struck me that I can get the height of this panel from this side, although it's a bit frilly and it will need to be chopped off later. You can see that from the bottom of that seam to the kind of indent is about 25 millimeters, near as damn it. So I've marked on here 25, oh sorry, the curvature that I think I've got. Then I'm going to scribe a line at 25 all the way along, and then before I chop it I will still eyeball it and see what that looks like, but I think we're not going to be too far off if I use that approach. That's the line. You can see how much excess material I gave myself, so I'm just going to cut that off there, sand the back off, then see what it looks like on the car. I'm also So I'm gonna hammer that flat first, because there's no point offering it up to the car if it's wonky donkey. It's pretty close. I think this will be one of those panels where you put the plug weld holes in and then push it up against the car and hope it makes sense. And then you weld it damn fast before it moves again. Right. Moment of truth, this obviously won't fit at the moment because it's oversized, but you get the idea. It'll go in there like so. I will need to add a bit on at the front there, which is annoying. I should have remembered to do that. And then I'll also need to add a bit on at the back to make the return. It's really just the lower section that I need to do, but we're getting there. So I need to basically add a strip on there at the bit at the back. So what's that? About 5mm, maybe a touch more. I suppose I could mark it up for where I want to cut it. Then I can make more detailed measurements. I'm going to put the camera in my mouth now, which is a new filming technique I've learned. Go with something like that. Let's hope this was right. So I didn't really take my time measuring, I just kind of guessed. That will go in there. Oh yes, that will work. Lovely. This is kind of changing how I'm thinking about doing this last little section. I was going to weld a bit on there, but I think I might be able to cheat and just move the whole thing forward. And I can get that line nice and straight and still attach it here. Then I only need to do one welding operation at the back. It should save me some effort. The only problem is I would need to weld one strip in up the back and then hammer it around. I don't know. 6 of one and half a dozen of the other. As you might have guessed, I'm kind of making this up as I go along. Originally, I was going to cut all of that metal out and then butt weld this in super neat. But this area, I accept, will have to be dressed with a tiny bit of filler. And I would much rather have the strength in here. So what I've decided to do is basically clean back to good metal, trim a bit more out of here, and then do this as a lap weld and just shove it on top and weld through, because that's gonna give me the most strength. The other benefit is that if I cut this off and I just had these two sort of pissing about forwards and backwards in sort of free air, this panel might end up in the wrong place, like pushed in too far or pulled out too far. Whereas because this is so stiff, I'm quite confident that when that's pushed in and buttoned up, that gives me the right kind of shape. And then the last little bit at the bottom right down here, I can fill in after I've got all of this in there, and it should be cock on perfect. So I'm going to go up to the top now, put my plug weld holes in, one there probably, and then a whole row along that bottom edge, chop that bit out, de-rust the back side of this. There isn't actually very much rust on there at all, but I will give it a quick going over and put some Hydrate 80 on it. I can actually reach the whole of this area from inside the car afterwards, so I'm not so fussed about reaching the back, but I will put zinc paint on the back of here because I won't be able to get in there afterwards. Those two will be buttoned up tight. Cool. I'm not sure how much more I'm going to do today, because I'm getting well, tired, really. So, I've been wandering around the garden looking at rabbits for the last few minutes, so I kind of forgot where I got up to with the videoing. That is the newly repaired bottom of the, essentially, rear wing. That's going to go in there. I think I said I was going to butt weld it, and I am, but it occurred to me that that will work fine for the rear section, but the front down here, I want that all to sit flush at the same level. So I've actually trimmed out a little bit more so I can butt weld it. I've got my plug weld hole in there, plug weld holes through here. I've derusted the backside with grinder and then painted it in weld through paint. Weld through primer, which incidentally I'm not always sure people understand what this stuff does. It's crap for rust prevention on like a surface like this. Really all it is for is going between seams. So you would paint it, like imagine if you're welding that onto that, you'd paint it on those seams, because although the paint will burn away, the zinc contact means to a certain extent it'll sort of kind of fill in the voids in and around where you've welded and try and prevent the rust build up that's going to be ultimately between those two panels. So even though this will all be painted in zinc, once it's welded it'll be taken back to bare metal to be painted with either red oxide or etch primer or something like that, and then the backside from in there will be covered in this, and then when the car's finished, filled with dinitrile again. But this is not sort of a really anti-rust paint, it's just for welding through, for going on seams and stuff. So where this will be overlapped, that will get the zinc. So that's that. I'm going to wait for that to go off and then do the final shaping of that bit. In fact, I might go and do that on the vise. I just need to drop this bit, lift that bit, and then it should be ready to be welded. I'm not sure whether I can film this and do it at the same time. Basically, this will work if I start really pushing that and leave the top of that as a lap weld. That can be hammered down and go in there in that step and be flush, which will work. And this can go in. It's a case of whether I can hold it all together in the right places at the right time. Somewhere like that. Oh, dear me. Look away. Ow. Cock. Finally. I think we're winning. Need my bashy hammer and chisel it. Just hold that in there before I do the tack welds. The plug spot welds. I'm going to tack the. I'll show you. This is all going to get covered, but I'm going to put a piece of weld right in the back there. I'll never be able to get there to sand it flat, so it's important it's like right in the back corner, if I can get it there. Once again, it's not easy doing this one-handed with a camera. Oh, damn it. Right, I'm going to have to put you down and do this. Hopefully that hasn't penetrated and I can just chip it off. Good. That's what I wanted to do. been a while since I actually shut the door, so let's try that. Bearing in mind that the door needs to go up a lot when you close it. Can I do that one-handed? I can. Look how strong I am. Ugh, there we go. Yeah, that's all going to work lovely. That's another key area, so I'll make sure that's good now. Damn it! I wish I'd hit that harder earlier. Just trying to get that bit to sit flush. I suppose it's within Rover tolerances. All of this gets hidden by stainless steel trim, so it really doesn't matter at all, but it would have been nice. That should work out fine. Again, I've forgotten to drill these holes out bigger. I really want those about 6 or 7 mil to make sure that I get good penetration, because that sill is thick chunky steel. So I'm going to go and find my drill and drill those out. I think I was going to be lazy and not bother, but I've done so much work in this area, I might as well do it properly. Really annoyed with my GoPro. There was a last piece of video. Excuse me, I've just been drinking cider. Where I did some really neat welding. Well, not really neat, pretty neat. And some decent plug welds. And then called it a day. And unfortunately, it lost the recording. But anyway, that one, check out how perfect that was. That was really good. All of that was welded in nicely, all down there, finish is good, fits nice. Then I got bored and thought, stuff it, I'll do more tomorrow. So yeah, that's the end of the video. See you later.